Today, we're going to explore the reference interview. So what is the purpose of the reference interview? The purpose of the reference interview is to elicit from the user sufficient information about the real need so that the librarian understands is enough to begin searching. So the purpose, of course, is to know what the user that comes to our library wants to know. Why do we need to know that? Why do we need to know the information need? We need to know the information need so we can help the user get to the sources that will address the information needs. That's the whole point of the reference interview, okay? It's an interaction between two people, the user and the reference librarian. As I have said many times, to me, this is at the heart of librarianship. Being able to understand the information needs of the user so they can get to the information that they are looking for. And that, of course, will address the information needs. So questions asked during the reference interview are intended to elicit specific kinds of information. So we as librarians, as a reference librarian, we need a specific information. Why? Because that's the only way then that we can address information needs. Questions asked during the reference interview are intended to elicit specific kinds of information. What does the user want to know? So first, we need to know what does the user wants to know. How does the user plan to use that information? That's very important. Is that for a paper? Is that for general knowledge? Is that for entertainment? How does the user wants to use that information? What level of detail, technical specialization, or reading complexity is wanted? Because there are sources for users, okay, and for user needs, and the user needs will determine what kind of source the user needs. So we have to be clear how is the user going to plan how the user is going to use this information, how the patron is going to use that information, how much level of sophistication does the patron need in terms of this information. Okay, it's very interesting that it's also pointed out that there are restrictions, and that will lie not only in the type of resources that we have available in our library and in the internet or with interlibrary loan, but it is a restriction how much work is the user or the patron willing to do to get the answer. It's because there are also time limits, there are deadlines, and another limitation could be how current the information must be. So the idea of the reference interview and the idea of the questions that we ask is, of course, first we want to know what kind of information, what is it that the patron or the user is looking for, and then to see, what kind of information, the level of complexity, the audience, how much time do we have, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the whole idea about the reference interview. Okay. There are stages in the reference interview. We have the greeting, the interviewee, and establishing that rapport and trust. Secondly, we have general information gathering or getting the big picture. Then we can go to more specific information gathering. Then we have the intervention, such as giving information, advice, and instruction. And finally, ending and including feedback and summary. And I do special emphasis in the follow-up, okay? Because the whole idea is that we have a positive reference transaction. So there are limitations, as we said, from the user or patron point of view, but also we as reference librarian may have limitations. In terms of greeting the interviewee and establishing rapport, we have to be approachable, okay? We have to make the patron feel at home, comfortable talking to us. It would be ideal if we have in our library a special desk and we can pay all the attention to the user or the patron. Or we even may have a room where we can do the reference interview. It is very uncomfortable doing a reference interview and also having to tend the circulation desk and answer questions to other patrons. We should devote most our time to this reference transaction because we want to make the user, the patron, as comfortable as possible. Okay, we have to show interest in the information need of the patron. We have to do that because we want to establish that rapport. We want to make sure that the user and the patron or the patron feels comfortable talking to us. Okay, then we may go to the second stage, that general information gathering. So we approach the subject of, okay, so welcome to the library. We are here to help you. What is what you want to know? Tell us about what kind of information do you need? What are you looking for, etc. Right? So it's more like a big picture. It would be like a initial inquiry. Okay, how can I help you? You know, you don't jump to any conclusions. So let the user or the patron speaks. Okay. Then we can go to more specific information. And that's when we ask specific questions once the initial inquiry has happened. Okay, so we can probe, we can have questions such as, you know, can you tell me more about the topic? What are you going to use that topic for? Who is that topic intended for? How much complexity do you need? What kind of sources are you looking for? Do you need to have, you rather read printed sources or maybe electronic sources, et cetera, et cetera? How much time do you have so we can do more research on your topic, okay? So that's very, very important. So we know we can then start limiting our own information seeking. Okay, that's the key. Once we know and we have more specific information, it is always a good idea to confirm with the patron what our understanding on the question, and then we can clarify further to see if we are in the same page. I have gone through many reference interview. I have gone to many libraries, and sometimes what I'm thinking and what the reference librarian is thinking are like two different things. And that's because in the case in my case, I probably haven't been able to express exactly what I need. And sometimes it's because the librarian hasn't asked me the questions to clarify what I'm looking for. Okay, so that's the key. But once we have clarified what the information needs are, then we can start providing information. And the best way to do that is by searching together, and that's part of the advice and the instructions. Because what we want is for the user, for the patron, to become also a very proficient searcher. So he or she can do their own searches in the future. Okay, that's to me is one of the things that we do as reference librarian. We provide instructions. We teach the patrons how to search information. Another very important thing that we have to do in this stage is to show or instruct the patron or the user how to assess and evaluate information. Okay, and this is not for the purpose of censoring any information. It is for the purpose of illustrating and instructing how they can differentiate between information, misinformation, or disinformation, or propaganda. Okay, so they have one more tool to get to the information that that is relevant, that is pertinent, information that has authority. Okay, so not only we instruct how and teach how to search, but also we instruct and teach how to assess and evaluate information. That's very important. Finally, we get to the ending, the interview. And of course, it's a good idea to make sure that we have provided the information or we have provided the sources of information that will address information needs. Okay, that's very important. And ask if they need any more information. And if they are sure that what we provided was enough and is what they were looking for. Then what I think it's when we conclude the interview, of course, I think it's very important that in order to be a successful and positive transaction, we do a follow-up. So we can ask the patron, would you like to get more information about the subject? Would you like me to, do you have an email so I can email you more information? Or I as a librarian can provide you with my email in case, and my telephone number in case you need more information so we can do more searches and I can provide you with other information sources that will help you address that information need. And remember, not all the resources must be in our library. We have our brothers and sisters librarians in other libraries, so they can help too. So even though we may not have access to some sources of information in our own collection, we can always use other libraries' collection. The idea is that we listen patiently. We listen carefully. We don't become judgmental or take one side or another on an issue, and that we try as much as possible in a professional way to address the information needs of our users and our patrons. To me, that this is the most important function that we can have as librarians, and this is true for school or public or academic or specialized libraries. Okay. And being able to provide that service in that excellent level of service where the user is satisfied what we have done, is a feeling that I when I was an academic librarian was looking for, that feeling of being proud of my profession and being proud of how I was able to help the patron. So these are some of the tips that we should follow when we do reference in our library.